patch number 2 to Paths to Glory is now live on Albion Online, and it comes with a lot of changes, and one in particular that a lot of players think is going to kill the game. So we're going to discuss all of that and see if it actually holds merit, if it actually has value to what they're saying, and let's get into it. Now, Paths to Glory number 2 says that this patch is intended to fine-tune some of the changes introduced in Paths to Glory update, refining the overall game dynamics and addressing community feedback. Okay, all right, let's look at the first one that is, I would say, has some value. Armor items now have all their abilities unlocked from tier 4 upwards, as has been the case with the Weapons to the Paths of Glory update for the first one. So this was like a huge deal. They are now just bringing all of the skills that the armor actually will have at higher tier down to tier 4, similar to what they did for all of the weapons. So it's just a quick balancing of all of the things that they introduced in Paths of Glory for the weapons now is available for all of the armor sets as well. So this is like mostly just the passives, because most of the skills really are unlocked, right? So it's just the passives. That's pretty good. For the Albion Journal as well, this is one of the biggest changes that they introduced to Paths of Glory. They have been changed. It's the following rewards. They have been updated. So most of it are from Silver to Tome of Insight. So they are reducing the number of silver introduced into the game via the journals. This is actually really good because SBI has been having a bad silver faucet issue for the past like 2-3 years, I want to say. So instead of giving you bags of silver, like a lot of them, they're giving you Tomes of Insight that can be used for speccing up your gears and not introducing more silver in the game, because the game doesn't need more silvers generated. It needs more gold generated to make sure that the premium prices actually just don't skyrocket. They're also nerfing the 25 silver bags to 15 from the 100 million fame from roaming mobs. And again, these are all just from silver down to either lower tier silver or like lower number of silver bags to Elder's Tome of Insight, Grandmaster's Tome of Insight, to community tokens and things like that, just to not give more silver to the players via the game just generating it. So that's the basic concept of all of these nerfs. These are actually nerfs to the journal. And also it makes sense because you can just have multiple of these characters complete the same quest that gives you silver and then just transfer it back to your main account. That could be a thing, but that's like very unlikely. You have to put in a lot of effort to do that, but that's also one thing that maybe they're looking into. There's also a following mission reward, the change 25 tier 3 roaming to just 12. Insignificant, basically. This is one of the things that a lot of players, at least in my chat, they did not appreciate. The travel planner and the island merchant UIs now grouped into 2-level drop-down menu for easier navigation for multiple personal islands and guild islands. Icons now indicate the destinations biome attached city, and we're going to look at that. Clearly distinguish between own islands, favorites, and other islands in quick access. And they also give you a lot of stuff here as well for the drop-down with submenus, now with arrow symbols. Now, I want to talk about the travel planner. Let's look at the travel planner, shall we? All right, now I'm in my travel planner. Okay, look at this. You have your favorite, your home, your personal islands, right? That's pretty good. You get your personal islands, right? You have your Brazilian, Carolyn, Limhurst, and obviously you have more because of the update in the past. You have your favorites, cool, right? Player islands, guild islands, bridge watch, city, player, guild. I don't like it. Player islands, guild islands, right? I don't know if I like this one. I really don't. I really don't. The grouping is something that you need to get used to. It's a guild island. It's a player island. You know what I hate? This is like, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of this, right? I'm not a big fan of how they actually changed it. But this too, like, look at this. Look at it. Why is there a scroll? Like half a text scroll. Why is that? Now, if you want to go to Brazil, you have to scroll and click. Why not just extend it by like half a text so that we don't have to scroll? I don't get it. It is a minor issue. Really, they can just extend this, but like, why? Why do I have to scroll? That's my main gripe about this update. It's just I have to scroll to go to Brazilian. I don't like it. This is just one thing though. I just don't like that. I just don't like. I feel like that is like a really blatant UI error. That should not be a thing. But obviously, you know, they can fix that. They can get like one of their interns to do that for like 5 seconds, and that it's going to be fixed. But I don't like that. That feels very uncomfortable to me that I still have to actually scroll. Okay, so there is also the system-generated soup, salad, and mules. They have now been released or removed from the marketplaces in Albion Europe, and then they added the guild logos for the Albion Europe beta season winners. So those are the other changes that have been applied yesterday in the patch. Now let's look at the combat balance changes, and this is where one item was changed so drastically that people are saying, oh, there's SBI, the developers are just destroying the game. So let's look through them one by one, starting with the Arcane Staff. The Enigma Blade on all the Arcane Staff damage from 180 to 190. That's the swiping W. I honestly thought we would see more Arcane Staffs in corrupted dungeons maybe because of this buff, but I haven't actually seen one. But they have buffed it from 180 to 190. Maybe in the future we'll get to see. But next up is the Frazzle again on the Arcane Staff. This is one of the other W skills of the Arcane Staff, which reduces the resistance of your opponent. The cast time is from 0.6 to 0.5, and the cast range is from 13 meters to 15 meters. Now, this is an auto-targeted skill. I guess the 13 to 15 meters is a good change, but I still see this as like a PvE skill. The Frazzle can definitely be used in maybe like a one-shot when you're just zoning and targeting a specific person, because it does shred a lot of the resistances of the opponent. So maybe that, but I don't see that happening anytime soon in like maybe 1v1. A targeted one-shot kidnap build small skill, kind of, maybe, but like the Pierce on the Curse Staff is still a lot better. Now moving on to the Daggers, the Bridled Fury. They are increasing the stacks. This is a ZVZ weapon that was once one of the best DPSs in the game, and they fell off because of the consistent nerfs that they received after they were introduced. They were super powerful, and then they got nerfed, and then they got nerfed, and they got nerfed, and they got deleted from the meta of ZVZs. And yeah, now they are bringing it back just a little bit. 7 increase, 12 increase, 17, right? It's a little bit increase. I think this is enough to give ZVZ players another option in terms of DPS, like brawler DPS. Bridal Fury, pretty good. You can just stack your Qs anyways with just your Q3 and stack off battle, zoom in, dash, E, and then like get back. So this is a really good change for ZVZ players. The Frost Staffs, the Frost Bomb on all of the Frost Staffs. Once again, this is a W ability. The initial area slow is from 20% to 30%. Now, this is probably like the least used W in terms of PvP, only next to the last W, which is like the obelisk something on the Frost Staff. This might be like the least used because it doesn't really give you a lot of value in PvP, but this is mostly used in PvE situations, in like group dungeons, but there are a lot better Ws out there. I don't see Frost Bomb being all of a sudden a thing in Albion Online. So yeah, it's an update, it's a change, but no one will care about that change. The hammers, the powerful swing on all of the hammers, the damage from 94 to 113, and the bonus damage to crowd control enemies from 48 to 56. Again, hammers are not really meant for high damage, so this is going to be an okay change for the hammers. Again, not the biggest change out there, but at least if you are a hammer player, you are going to get just a little bit of an extra damage. I don't know how will that translate in the overall effect into killing an enemy, but just a little bit would help. The seismic tremor as well on all of the hammers. The first and second hit increase from 70 to 80, and the third hit from 140 to 160. If you don't know the seismic tremor, this is the one that's just like bam, bam, bam in front of you. Very difficult to hit if they're not stunned, but you do get that a little bit more damage. Again, these are all hammers. These are not meant to be for dealing incredible amount of damage, but again, just a little bit more buff into your damage will hopefully help you and your teammates, because mostly these are like group activity weapons, but you can also use this in solo mist. I've seen this in solo mist, and use this in solo corrupted dungeons. I don't know if the seismic tremor is like the best W though, because if we look at hammers, there you go. I think that seismic tremor is a W. So I don't know if this is like the best W out there when you have your slowing charge and you have your sleep. And if you're in a ZVZ, you have your inertia ring. I don't know if the seismic tremor is actually going to be a thing. All right, it does deal, let's call that a tier 4. At tier 4, it deals around 900 damage. The channel time is 2 seconds. Again, hammers are not meant for incredibly high damage, but I guess you can use that as an alternative, but I don't see that for solo. Maybe in group scenarios, if you don't need the inertia ring, you can probably do that. The Holy Staff, the generous heal on all of the staffs, 0.6 seconds cast time to 0.5, 1 meter buff. This, if you look at this, you'll be like, oh, what a dumb change. Well, like, what an incredibly dumb change. 0.1 second cast time, 1 meter range. Why would they even do that? This is actually a huge buff. A huge buff for holy healers, especially in a 2v2 situation. Most of the time, the difference between being cancelled while casting a generous heal is like 0.1 second. So having the ability to just be able to cast 0.1 second faster actually helps. The 1 meter range actually helps, because most of the time in like 2v2 situations, they try to zone you out of the range of the Q, and 1 Q can actually save you. This is a huge buff, actually. A huge buff, especially, once again, in 2v2 situations. Now, in other situations, when it's like a group or it's like solo, you don't really use generous heal anyways. You use, I think, the flash heal is what it's called. So you use flash heal for group. You use holy generous heal for solo or for duo. So this is a generous heal. It is actually such a huge buff. Such a huge buff for this one. And the flash heal, obviously holy flash, is for group. This is only for 2v2, I would say. I like the change. I like the change on the generous heal. Really good buff. Let's move on to talking about the Shapeshifter Staff. This is absolutely one of the biggest nerfs, I think, to the Shapeshifters. The Flash Orb on the Hellspawn Staff, the initial damage from 150 to 120, that is not where the nerf comes from. Every 0.6 seconds, the projectile travels, similar to how the Warbow, just for a comparison, the damage increases by 30 up to 240. Now, if you have been using or have used the Hellspawn Staff, you don't really use it for its damage for the first. Well, you do, kind of do, but the recast damage is where it's at. The recast damage, which is from 220 to 150, that is huge because you don't use the Q of the Imp long range ability. It moves incredibly slow. Someone who gets hit by an incredibly slow projectile deserves to actually perish in the game. So that is actually, this is a huge nerf. Most of the time when you see this in 2v2 Hellgates, or maybe a crazy person uses it in a small scale situation. In 2v2 situation, you always go QQ right away. So when you are in imp form, you Q your opponent like super close range, QQ, and then you deal your damage. So yeah, this is a huge nerf for the Hellspawn staff. I think this will be killed in 2v2 situations. So yeah, time to look for a new weapon if you are a 2v2 Hellgate player. This is such a huge nerf. This is such a huge nerf. They just killed it. Like absolutely killed it. I think. Yeah, I don't see it. The Hellspawn staff has an ability to come back to life. But this is beyond dead. This is beyond dead. I don't see this coming back to life unless they nerf it back up. The Seedlings Bloom on the Rootbound staff. The Empowered Bloom healing received from 20% to 10%. So if you don't know what that is, let's look at the Rootbound staff. Let's look at it. It's a crazy thing. This is what it says. So now the healing received in that bloom, that green puddle, is from 20% to 10% now. That's actually a good nerf because a lot of players, especially like in small scale situation, maybe even in arena situations where they just drop the Seedlings Bloom inside that big circle, essentially increases your healing received by 20%. Everyone's in there. The Rootbound staff and the Furry form uses their W, boom, and they're like completely safe. A lot of heals. One jump from a hollow fall or one Q perfectly placed to heal all of the teammates, and you're just like all back up to full health. So this is actually a good nerf. It only will affect those small scale arena type playstyles. I don't think it is going to affect in like ZVZ. ZVZ mostly you go with the defensives on your W Rootbound staff anyways. And for solo, it's not used in solo. So there's that. The Bard Roots as well. Rootbound staff increases the shield. Wow. Wow, they actually increased the shield like it needs it. Huh. Like it actually needs more shield. Interesting. That is an interesting change that they actually buffed the Bard Roots. So you just get more shield. Just 25 though, and you know how shields actually work in Albion Online. They are before resistances. So maybe not too much of a buff here, but still surprisingly that they actually buffed it. All right, so let's move on to one of the most controversial things I've seen in the past couple of months. The shoes, the blind spot on the Shoes of Tenacity. Caster is no longer invisible to mobs, but only to other players. The buff duration is from 1 second to 1.5 seconds, and the movement speed is from 20 seconds to 60 seconds. Now, you don't know. This is the Shoes of Tenacity. When the NBA patch notes were actually shown and given out to all of the players, they saw this buff, and a lot of players were like, yo, SBI doesn't know what they're doing. They're killing the game. Do not go through with this patch note. Just get rid of the debuff or rework of the blind spot. You are killing the game. Absolutely killing the game. Now, that's not the case. That is absolutely not the case. Now, they're saying this from the perspective of HCE players and static rats. Now, static corrupted dungeons, or now static dungeons, these are like bigger and badder group dungeons, right? They don't despawn, they're just there, hence the name static. You have seen, pretty much, I know, if you're watching this video, you have seen a video of like using a 4.1 druidic staff with the shoes of tenacity, assassin jacket. They're going into this high tier black zone static dungeons, killing the boss, going through the mobs with the shoes of tenacity, invisibility potion, their assassin jacket, just going through these mobs, ratting the chest, and getting a lot of loot on a tier 4.1. Now, if you're a game designer, would you really want to see your high tier, supposed to be high risk mode just be done by 4.1 players? I think not. So I think this is a good enough change for players to actually play the mode without cheesing it, without using a low cooldown ability just to be able to go through the mobs and cheese rat whoever is like clearing the boss and just rat them. So this will lead to a more fair fight rather than just, oh, who can invis faster, who can get not tagged by the mobs because you have that low cooldown ability. Now, this is a good change. Now, some are also saying that, oh, you're killing HCE players. They are so reliant on Shoes of Tenacity to de-aggro mobs so that their tank can actually get all of the aggros. If they mess up, they Shoes of Tenacity so that they de-aggro mobs. Now, if you see that, not really. You have the Calming Potion. This is the Calming Potion. The Calming Potion makes you invisible to mobs for 3 seconds and applies a shield. Doesn't even really matter. It does make you invisible to mobs. Now, you can just swap that out. It has longer cooldown, yes, but that also gives you the opportunity to swap your Shoes of Tenacity. Because when I was an HE player years ago, Shoes of Tenacity was used just to de-aggro mobs. Yes, you do have that extra damage on top after you invis. That's extra damage per 10 seconds, 12 seconds, or whatever it is. You just get extra damage every 10 seconds. But most of the time, it is used for de-aggroing mobs. Now, if you swap in the Calming Potion, you can now use your Shoes ability for something else. Maybe higher damage on your Royal Sandals. Maybe you can all use Occultist Sandals to shred the resistance of the enemies. Now, I'm not the best HCE player out there, but even I can just maybe theory craft on top of my head. Calming Potion, Cultist Sandals, Royal Sandals. Those who are veteran players of HCEs, I don't think they will be affected by this that much. Not as much as some of the players are saying, oh, you're killing HCE, you're killing static corrupted dungeons. No. Those who are saying that, honestly, are just so used to how it is that they cannot deal with change. It's like me saying, if they nerf the Fire Staff, I scream at the top of my lungs saying, you're killing corrupted dungeons, don't nerf the Fire Staff. No, not really. It's just a meta shift. They're changing the way things are being done because maybe it's too easy. It's not the way they designed it to be. So it's just a change that people need to adopt. Game's not dying because Shoes of Tenacity got reworked. Okay? So whenever you see those kinds of comments, ignore them. They're just rawr, 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 rawr. It's not really dying. You just have to create a new way of doing the content that you've been enjoying. So there's that. Game's not dying. People are just overreacting. Just overreacting. Let's look at the comments. The Tenacity Shoes nerf is real. Also, GG's for HCE boys. What else? I want to see the thing. Keep deleting Shapeshifter Staffs one by one. Good job. All the top players use Stalker Jacket. Gets nerfed. On the other hand, the Hellspawn staff player is not even Shapeshifter's player, but it gets 70 base damage nerf, but not even a Shapeshifter player. Okay, what's next? Light Caller? Maybe like the W reflectable, increase the charge cost from 5 to 2. This game only works for rats. This, I wonder how long this guy has been playing. I really wonder how long. It's just a change. If you have been playing the game long enough, you know that overpowered things are going to get nerfed. Just look at the Demon Fang, bro. Demon Fang just was super good when it first came out. Got nerfed, even to a point where like people are using the word Demon Fanged to refer to a weapon or an item that keeps on getting nerfed every single patch, it seems like. So yeah, it's just a change. It's just a change. We're going through changes. And this is what we call meta shift. Now do it for CD. Yes, please nerf the one-hand fire staff. The one-hand fire staff is my main weapon and has been part of the top meta for the good part of 2 years. I think it's time. I think it's time to like shift away from the one-hand fire staff. It's time to shift away from the dual sword. I think it's time to nerf those dual sword and one-hand fire staffs, really. They nerfed the bear. So, like, nerf it too. Reverse the nerf of Tenacity shoes. Half of the game's content dies with this nerf. Half? So, like, static. So, I guess the content of the game is static dungeon and HCE. And, like, solo dungeon and corrupted dungeons. So, it's just half of it. There's no other contents in the game. There's literally no other contents in the game. There's no ZVZ, there's no small scale. There's literally half of the game's content just dies because of one nerf to a shoe. Again, this is an exaggeration. This is an exaggeration. But yeah, this is one of those. Again, I don't really, I don't blame them for thinking this. It's just that it's an exaggeration. They're going to get used to it. You just have to find a better way in doing like whatever you're trying to do. So there are a lot of different ways to deal with this nerf. It's just that I don't like it when people exaggerate things way too much. It's like half the game's content dies. Like half of your content dies, not the game's content. Rip healers HCE. Again, veteran HCE players are going to come up with better ways. It's not going to die. It's just we're going through a meta shift. It's no. Rip HCE, now it's nearly impossible to do high maps. I don't know about that. Again, I believe people who have been running high tier maps are smarter than that. I'm pretty sure they've already figured out a way to deal with this shift in meta. It's been this for the past 4 years. Again, veteran players who are actually running high maps have already figured this thing out. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 100% sure they've figured this thing out. The nerf to the Shoes of Tenacity is an absolute disaster. It feels like someone in charge threw a fit after getting outplayed by a static diver, and now we're all paying the price. The shoes were perfectly balanced with decent cooldowns and just right amount of invisibility, but now the devs completely missed the point. They were made for PvE, and if you're forcing them into PvP, they should at least have 3 to 4 seconds. They were made for PvE? Outplayed by a static diver. They should have at least 3 to 4 seconds invisibility and extra damage. Right now, they're useless for PvE and PvP. Basically, just some boots with tiny spec boost. This I can actually agree with. It is a nerf that kills the boots. This I actually agree. It actually kills the boots. Because where can you use them? Except for, it's like when the broadsword was really, really good for corrupted dungeons, and they nerfed it, and that it just died. Now I agree with this. The Shoes of Tenacity is rarely used outside of static ratting HCEs. Now they nerfed it for both of the contents, and now where do you use them? We obviously saw it earlier today with the Bloodletter. Did not work out for him, and did not work out for me too. Right after that, so I agree with this. Actually, I agree with this. They're useless, not for both. They're useless for a lot of things now. These are basically useless. They got vaulted essentially. They don't really. Where do you use it? Where do you actually use it? Well, in groups. Actually, someone said earlier in chat, in Avalonian Dungeons extra DPS, that could still be used. Most of the time, your tanks do have the aggro, and rarely would you get one shot in Avalonian Dungeons. So you can still be used in Avalonian Dungeons. But I see the point. I see the point of this guy. But they were made for PvE, but he was like static diver that if you're forcing them into PvP, they should have. They're used for PvP, let's be honest. I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. They're used for PvE ratting the boss in static, yes. But most of the time, they are used to outplay in PvP situations in statics. So there's that. This change completely ruins HCEs, Avis, and statics. Completely ruins it. It's an exaggeration again. They have figured things out. Avalonian Dungeons, I don't know. Statics, yes. But Avis, probably not. They're trying to get rid of static rats. It's just blamed. Why? Trying to get rid of static rats is just plain that. Why? Why is it dumb? They're called rats for a reason. Those players are part of what makes static content fun. Rats and fun. I won't put rats and fun in the same thought. That's just me. If you can't handle them, maybe you should stick to the yellow zone. Well, also, counterpoint, if you can't handle the change to the Shoes of Tenacity, maybe just don't do statics anymore. There are better contents. There are better contents in the game. Just to use your point against yours. If you can't handle this change, just change content. There's a lot more there. There's a lot more content out there. For Ava, forget about it. What was once one of the best ways to earn fame is now a waste of time. DPS players are getting knocked left and right, and tanks can't do anything about it. You've taken a promising part of the game and turned it into a mess. HEs have always been dead. They're not what they used to be. Statics are just filled with rats, and I don't think they designed static dungeons to be cleared and to be farmed by 4.1s. I don't think they designed it that way. They made the mobs there incredibly difficult to defeat, and they're like, yo, tier 4.1, and let's just choose a Tenacity, Assassin Jacket, and maybe like reset Hood, and like we can do it. So again, these I see the point. If your main content is just static ratting and HCEs, and you see this change, mostly static ratting. If you see this change and you're a static rat, you'll be like, oh, it's the end of the world. HCE, I firmly believe HCE players are like one of the smartest min-maxers in the game. If you're a HCE master, you have a solution for this. If you're not, you're definitely going to cry about it. Oh, he replied to that. A War Master. I don't know what that means. Seems like someone doesn't want to risk the biscuit to get their Gucci Awakened tank weapon, so they have to threat gen instead of just CC spam. As the solution, tank can't hold aggro. Tank doesn't make enough threat gen. So skill issue could be argued now. Or just using wisely the available invis tools, pot, Spectre shoes. That's true, Spectre shoes can be a thing. At the disposal would solve the problem. Is he he's not agreeing, right? He's not agreeing with this. He's calling it skill issue could be argued now. Okay, that is okay. Here we go. I would love a response from this guy. I would love a response. Really. Can you roll back the travel planner UI on desktop? This is even worse than the original one. So there you go. Yeah, you're not alone. Avar raids are almost completely unaffected. If you think otherwise, you don't understand them. Wow. In my opinion, this actually makes them easier because I have an excuse to get my DPS off of the Tenacity, which deals less damage. So this is the point that we were trying to make. If the Shoes of Tenacity for exclusively PvE is like, if it got nerfed, you can just switch to another boots. Best patch to ever hit Albion. Statics are now alive with groups again, and bosses are up. Rats are dying left and right center as they can't invis mobs every 2 seconds. You know what's the best patch ever? Look at this. Best patch ever to hit Albion. Statics are now alive with groups again, and bosses are up instead of just getting rats. Rats are dying left, right, and center as they can't invis mobs every 2 seconds. Rats are dying left, right, and center. Look at his display picture. It's a rat. It's a rat. I love it. I love it. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. But yeah, this is the best comment ever, dude. So that is it for the patch of patch number 2 of Paths to Glory. There are a lot of changes there, but most of the players actually, they just want their Shoes of Tenacity back. Again, I'm going to keep on repeating this. I don't think it's big of a deal for HCEs, at least. For statics, yeah, they kind of killed the item. They killed the item for static dungeons, yes. But they did not kill content in static dungeons. They killed the item in HCEs, yes. But they did not kill HCEs. Now for Avalonian dungeons, I think it's not that affected. So, they killed the item. They did not kill the contents, you guys. That's my opinion. Pretty sure a lot of you are going to disagree. Leave them in the comment section below. Educate me if you think I am wrong on this one. They killed the item, not the contents. So, again, if you're mad, leave them in the comment section below. If you're happy, leave them in the comment section below. If you feel so passionate about your opinion, go to twitch.tv/burnstone and let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one.